Hey everyone! How are we all doing? Time for another portfolio review? Well, 3 of them actually. How's everyone doing in the chat? Someone pinging me? What's happening? Oh no, I'm pinging myself. Never mind. Tobias! It's been a while. Where have you been, buddy? The music down a little bit. That pen works this time. It's true, I'll hop onto voice chat soon, promise. No pressure, but just wondering. It's been a while. In the meantime, I've just been working on my personal work. Like, I'm back on that train again. Having a lot of fun. I'm actually thinking about streaming it again. Because I noticed that I have a lot of time. Well, a lot of time. I'm going to say that I'm bragging about it. But I spent a lot of time in the chat during the day, which I could probably spend up just by live stream. And help some people along the way. So might as well do that. I just don't know where, you know, because I kind of want to, don't really want to do it here. I just want to hop back on Twitch for that for some reason. Because I feel like on this channel, seeing my face once a month is more than enough, you know. And also reclaim my own name on Twitch again. I don't know. What do you all think about it? Just stream here on this channel or move back to Twitch? I know that it's probably been ages, so a bunch of you didn't even know that I streamed like once upon a time, but yeah, something that I've been thinking about recently. Just maybe it's also a good way to kind of force myself to do more personal work, you know? Sometimes I get a little bit too distracted. Oh, also, in the meantime, we have a new article that just came out, like literally today. So I'm gonna post that in the chat as well. If you want to check it out, it's by Ioana Oprisan. She's doing lots of good work and she's breaking down like her latest historical scene that she, like a recreation of like a World War II themed bunker. So check that out. It's worth a read. Lots of interesting tidbits of gathering historical references and stuff. So check that out. All right. So what do we have on the menu for today? So I'm gonna see if we can do like 3 portfolios today. So we got Andrew, who's coming up first. Then we got Dmitrij. And then Dagmawi is also coming up next. So we got 2 people from the community who was in the last live stream who wanted to get their portfolio reviewed as well. So gonna try to incorporate more people like that too, so that if you aren't interested in joining the community in any sort of shape or form, like you can just still get a nice portfolio review if you want it. Yeah, so that's on the menu for today. You know what? Let's just kick it off, you know? Let's see where we end up. And in the meantime, if you have like any remark, any question, or any additional point that you want to bring up, feel free to do so. We'd love to hear what you think about it all too. All right, so here we go. First portfolio from Andrew Lytle. Currently environment artist at PlayStation San Diego studio. Okay. I'm curious. I'm gonna skip the normal routine just to see what kind of games they work on. LB. Okay. Oh, just all MLB. MLB. Major League Baseball? I don't know. I'm not into sports. This is cool though. Cool little banner that you got going up here as well. Just like a really nice variation between the prop side of things and environment art side. So that's a good first impression right there. That's the big yearly release baseball sim. Okay. Cool, man. Let's have a look at these thumbnails. Okay. Oh, poly count challenge. Awesome. I like what I'm seeing here, you know? Like I feel like there's a clear progression of your work. I'm curious to see. I'm just gonna start at the latest one. Art Station Challenge. Top 5 pieces are professional portfolio, bottom 7 are outdated. Keep them around to show that progression. Oh, okay. So that's a good point. Let's talk about that then. Because... Oh, okay. I see. Wait, so let me do a quick test. Where do I end up? Oh, okay. So if you're doing that, what I would do is kind of switch around what you have going on right now. I would have the portfolio actually be the page that you land on. And then I would probably rename all to something like old work, or you could keep it at all, honestly, so that you land on your portfolio page, because you really want to make the best impact that you can, right? And right now it could seem that, how should I say this, like it could seem that you still think that this is like portfolio worthy, if that makes sense. Whereas you know that it's not, so you're trying to separate it from the main portfolio bit, but it's still weird that you land on it regardless, right? So I would think about it that way, because the way that you've set it up, like the actual like separation between the stuff that you like and the stuff that you don't like, actually makes a lot of sense, you know? You're just landing on the wrong side. Okay, so I'm just gonna pretend that this is what we land on, right? Gonna continue the journey. That's nice. Hello, Maelstrom. Welcome to the chat. How are you doing? This is cool. So for this project, I explored Nana as a workflow, heavily upgraded and practiced my sculpting skills, worked on refining workflow using secondary UV layers, packed texture maps to add layers of detail. Cool. And that's all just like explanation of the story. Cool. The water's quite nice. It has like a nice color to it. I like the composition of it as well, right? Like it's nicely, it's almost like you're cradling the viewpoint by just having like these blockers like pushing you into the frame. And you obviously, like, this is a focal point, especially with the flame underneath it, like with a nice contrast with the blue and the orange. It's awesome. It almost feels like, to me, I'm not gonna go too deep into this because it's more of a portfolio review, right? Like, it almost feels to me that the contrast needs to be pushed up more. Like, it feels like the stuff in the background is almost like way too lit. As like a small side note. Hi. Welcome to the chat, Jorge. Hope I pronounced that right. Probably butchered it. So how many screenshots do we have here? Oh, okay, interesting. Not a fan of this. George? Oh, sorry, George. Welcome to the chat, regardless. I don't see the point of this. You know, like the nanite view. I wouldn't include it in my portfolio. And the same for detail lighting. I don't really see the point of it. You know, like I can already get like all of the lighting information or like the stuff that I want to see like from the main couple of shots anyway. So I would just cut those out, like those two. Oh, we got a 2 max setup. This is cool. So where you're actually showing how you use the secondary mask workflow. So how are you using it then? So planar, green. Oh, emissive highlights. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So it's interesting that you use this workflow even though... Oh no, triplanar projection. Okay. Yeah. I just thought that this was like baked down as well, but this is just nanite, obviously. You mentioned that before. Okay. Hi, Yusifo. Welcome to the chat. So, Andrew, gotcha. Should it be enough to mention that I use nanite for some props without showing that view specifically to demonstrate? Oh, I see. That's why you were doing it. Okay. That is a good question. That is an interesting question. I never thought about that. It just doesn't look great, you know? I would probably do like a sort of a breakdown like this, where you have nanite on like the one side, right? And then like normal on the other side. Or maybe even have like nanites on like the one sheet where you have like, oh, these are like my nanite props, you know? And then add them here and then have like the next one be your normal props. So you would have like 2 pages of just saying like, oh, these are my nana props and these are my normal props. I think at this point it's more about preference. I would just not use like we discussed before, like the little thingy here, like this preview. Because like the rest of your presentation is actually good, you know? I would maybe think about the lighting of this one specifically. Let's have a look at the other ones. This one's quite nice. This one is quite nice as well. Yeah, I would probably work on the lighting for this one a bit more. The other two are actually pretty decent. Like there's more that you can do with rim lights for sure to make the silhouette stand out a bit more. But the presentation itself is decent, you know. I love this. Like the progression is actually really good. You know why? Because it shows what you're actually thinking about in each step. Oh, interesting. It's an interesting choice that you kind of broadened the foreground a little bit more. where it seemed to be more confined at a certain point, and then you kind of open it up a little bit. Because I actually do like the spikes being so heavily involved in the foreground. But no, this is an awesome piece, by the way. It's interesting that you show off that you can do like multiple techniques, right? You're exploring with nanite, doing a lot of sculpting as well. Mask workflow works really well for like these big objects, you know? That's awesome. No, great work. Let's have a look. Small little tip on... Whoa! I mean, it matters what I was gonna say anyway. Like, I was talking about the size of your logo, you know? Like, try to be a little bit more subtle. Not like I'm doing with my giant paintbrush. Like, I would probably, like, push the logo, like, to the side, you know? Because it does take up, like, a significant portion of the space here. Right, so try to condense it a little bit more, so that it becomes more like a badge and not like a quarter of your thumbnail. Maybe, yeah, maybe doing the same thing with the dragons, right? Just condensing it a little bit more. It's more about like the artwork than the stuff that you put on top of it, right? And currently, it's kind of the inverse. No, that's an awesome piece. And also, just congratulations on like finishing that, because I know that doing like one of these challenges is really tricky, especially in like the time that you've been given, you know? So congratulations on that. Let's have a look at some of the other stuff. Fort Brad. Nice. This is a neat little piece. When was this? 7 months ago. I'm sure that at this point you can already identify things that you want to do with this. Seeing as your latest piece like incorporated like really focused on the silhouette of a lot of the pieces, right? And that's what I wanted to say about this piece, is that you can do so much more with the silhouette of things, where you can kind of break up those like long, lengthy, straight sections with like really interesting stuff. Individual bricks, maybe just pushing the geometry a little bit more, you know, like pushing the shapes a little bit. Can already do a lot. Nice piece though. Yeah, like see, I said, I love the concept. More greebles? No, I'm not talking about necessarily adding more detail, because that can really take away from the concept that you're trying to follow, right? So I'm not talking about like, yeah, maybe detail is the wrong word. Like, I'm talking about like pushing the silhouette just a little bit, you know? So yeah, keep that in mind. Because sometimes it's just nice to... Let me see if I can do an example. Zoom in a little bit. Oh, you're kind of doing it already. Just not on the silhouette, though. So, like... See how you do these things? Where you have, like, individual bricks, like, sticking out. Like, that adds, like a ton of nice... It has like nice variation, right? What you want to do is probably do some of it like on the edges as well, where you have like individual bricks or like brick patchwork, like just sticking on the edges. Just a little bit of variation on the edges. That's all you need. Oh, like this one. It's great. You don't need to do it on these ones, right? Because they have like the nice border trim. It's just More about like the ones that have like a long continuing line of brickwork lining them. Like Maui, your portfolio is on the review queue. Exactly. The guillotine? I hope it's not a guillotine. I hope it's not that bad. Or I hope I don't make it sound that bad. BDLix, hey, are you still working at Ubisoft? No, I am not. I've been kind of doing Beyond Extend full time since May. So that's keeping me busy. Jump into the next thing here. Oh, that's cool. It's actually way bigger than I thought it would be. This is also nice. I want to point this out that you work from concept. That is such a great idea if you just want to focus on the execution of things rather than coming up with the designs yourself, you know? Like working from a concept just helps with that so much. And then you can just focus all your time on the execution of it. So, good choice. If you're thinking about like building your next piece, if you're in the chat, just look at this example where you use an already pre-existing design or a concept, and that's gonna take away like all the guesswork. Well, most of it. Sometimes you still have to do the guesswork for the back of stuff, you know? This is nice. Very intricate as well. That's awesome. And like honestly, this stuff makes such a huge difference where you have like slight rotations in like each disc. Because the discs are probably all the same. You just rotate them at like a slightly different angle so that it looks like they're all unique. Like it's more about like managing people's expectations of something, comparing to like doing it like all uniquely, you know? You can do that with so many things. Watch the pieces. Nice. Got a wireframe going as well. That's cool. It's nice to see. Wireframes always help in making the job as a recruiter or like an artist looking at your portfolio easier. Because it saves a bunch of time to know if you can actually optimize stuff and work towards game spec. So it's great. Yeah, this is cool. Honestly, I like the presentation as well. Like it's straightforward. Like the concept did it well as well. Like maybe if you really wanted to put like the dots on the eye, look at what the concept is doing with the floor, where it has like subtle color variation, you know? And probably the same can be applied to the machine itself as well, right? Like if we zoom in, and if you really want to push it to the next level, think about like all these subtle variations that we have here. For example, if you just look at this straight piece of metal, you know, like it has like a little bit of brown in it, like probably a little bit of green as well. And just infusing that like very subtly into your base color is gonna do so much. Yeah, where you can really tell like some of the color variation. And I'm really talking about like very subtle stuff, right? I feel if you're trying to push for like believability of things, like the subtlety and like the layering of those subtle layers is actually what makes it real. Or like at least what makes it believable. Let's see. I want to see if I paid attention, right? Because you might have done some of that in your work. Not seeing too much on the color variation aspect. However, I do want to point out this. Those are nice little details, you know? In the real thing, like what I tell like a lot of people to think about is you gotta think about it in a way where you almost gotta role play, right? Like if you are using this thing, or if you imagine that this thing is in your office, like what are you gonna hit against? Like what are you gonna bump against? Like are your keys gonna like scrape like different parts of it? Where are the interaction points of a prompt, you know? If you think about it that way in like a very, very logical, structured way, there's a lot of information that you can get out of that. For example, if you interact with like a space like a lot, it's probably going to be more shiny because the oils of your skin, you're gonna be touching it a lot, you know, so the roughness is going to be different on that surface. Scratches where you have interaction points, where there's stuff like, for example, like a random spot in between these two panels, you're not going to see that much unless this thing is moving back and forth and maybe it scratches against this panel sometime. But if these two things are static, like nothing is really coming in between these things, so you're not going to see like a lot of wear and tear. Whereas on this thing, you're going to see a lot of wear and tear because that's an interaction. And you can expand this same kind of thinking to environments as well, where you can kind of role play into an environment and be like, oh, like what is the path that I would take? And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but that's the way that you would approach it, like from a very logical perspective. Back CG. Self-taught environment artist, learn the basics. I want to start making my project. I'm really afraid of making a new project. So I tried to make something before, but didn't turn out how I wanted it. My brain just tells me not to try and do it. Okay, let's dive into that in a little bit. Once I finish this this portfolio review over here, like the first one, then we can dive into that a little bit. Also, feel free to shout out what you think about the current portfolio. Free to give your thoughts as well. Berirhan, hello Timothy. Hello, how you doing? Something like this can have so much character, you know? The part where you added Finn's bedroom to it. It's a great little touch. That's nice. Gives character, you know? I think on this one, the presentation can be pushed a little bit further, you know? Because it is just on like a plain gray background. And again, the lighting can be elevated to the next level as well, where you have rim lights and you're really, like, I called it like painting with lighting. Like, you want to show off the pieces that are like the most interesting to the prop. Maybe you can do a lot more with the paint as well, where you have stains that are dried up, right? So you have that layer already. But what if it was recently used? Maybe there's stuff that's not dried, you know? And the roughness variation of that would be kind of different to just give it like a little bit more contrast. But I think on this one, that was more like a nice thing to do. I think on this one, you can elevate it really quickly by just adding like a subtle material on the floor, like you're doing with your previous pieces that we looked at. And just adding like a nice rim light to just make it stand out from the background as well. Quick wins. Doesn't take too long. Um, you can even call in help from our friend Ray, as people in the community are calling it now. Because a lot of people have been experimenting with ray tracing in Marmoset 2x4, and apparently it looks really nice. So hey, maybe you need to have a chat with Ray as well. Okay, cool. And then this is probably older than that one, right? 2 years. Okay. So I honestly think that this is almost at the edge of like falling off onto your other part of your portfolio, just from like a quick glance at it, right? Also because like if you compare these two, right? Compare number 1 versus number 2, like this, even from the thumbnail by itself, is way more interesting than number 2. So I would honestly look at it that way, and maybe even think about like removing number 2 also on your older work at this point. It's not about quality, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. Was there anything else that you wanted me to discuss, Andrew? I think you're still here, right? Because I honestly think that from like a quick recap from what we discussed, right? Like I would say lighting is probably the thing that you can have like a lot of quick wins with, especially on the first one, like the contrast that we mentioned, and then this one as well, where you can just bump that up really quick with like a lighting pass. And honestly, yeah, like the stuff that I talked about on the other two was more about like the details of it, right? You got like a really good understanding of how do you even say it? Like you're getting to a really good point. It's about now putting in those finishing touches to really make to really put in that character and make it believable and make it like something something believable, you know, like push it to that quality level. And it's with a lot of subtle layering, you know. Sometimes it's just adding a little bit of touches in geometry, sometimes it's the texturing work, maybe it's both in certain cases. It's just, yeah, keep thinking about that. But yeah, overall the work is really nice, and thank you so much for sharing your portfolio as well. It was awesome. Andrew is saying, after the ArtStation challenge, I really see the value of those added layers of detail with secondary UV layer. Yeah, it's also like the way that I'm thinking about that is I love to approach stuff in like a modular way, where if let's say the second UV layers, right? Like I'm making a mask, and then I add in a sand material to give it like some sand or something like that. Cool. I have a tileable sand that I just can slot in. But I can also reuse that tileable sand on the next thing. And it just makes so much more sense from my perspective, when I'm building like larger worlds and when I actually want to build like larger portfolio pieces, where I see the snowball forming like in real time. You know, like I can use like a lot of the stuff that I'm building now into the next piece, and then in the next piece, and it's gonna keep snowballing from there. A thing that I want to shine a light on, because we're talking about the second UV and like all those layers, look into Unreal Engine's modeling tools and specifically baking vertex color, because there's like a new suite of like baking tools in there, and I'm currently using that on my my current portfolio piece. Well, my current uh medieval town that I'm making. And I'm actually, instead of using the second UV layers that you still have to bake in Painter or something like that, I'm actually using the vertex color baker in Unreal. And it's literally just like a one-click thing. Very useful. However, it does come with limitations by itself because it can only bake curvature and ambient occlusion. So those options are very limited. And the shader is going to be more heavy as well, but something to look into. All right. So before we dive into this, just a quick couple of tips for back CG with the questions in the chat. So you try to make projects before. Your brain is currently telling you not to try new things. That's because you're probably making the things too big. You should make like very small projects, like really small. Like depending on your skill level, let's say if you're just starting out, don't try to build an environment. Make like a really small thing. Like if you let's see if I can give like a concrete example. If you're just starting out, like I would literally try to make a maybe a screwdriver or something like that, or a hammer, you know, something super simple. Like don't pick like a complicated hammer or a complicated screwdriver. Like pick the basic stuff. Reason being is then the modeling is going to be relatively simple, but then you can focus on like actually getting the bakes right and all that stuff. And then the next thing you do is going to be more complex and more complex. And then maybe you pick a different skill that you want to incorporate, you know? Like you're building up in a gradual way instead of trying to do everything in the one same environment. That just never works. I would encourage to honestly think about an approach where you're focusing on the skill that you want to learn rather than making the thing that you have in your head. Right? That will help you keep things smaller than before. Hey Antonio, how's it going? Andrew is saying, thanks for all the feedback. I've been taking notes the whole time. That's awesome. If you got any more questions, you know where to find me, you know, in the community. You can always ping me a message there as well. In the meantime, if you want to be part of like a portfolio review in the future as well, community members do get like a front row seat, so they will always be picked first. But if you want, you can sign up for one yourself as well here. If you are interested in getting your portfolio reviewed. Awesome. Next up, Dmitrij. So let's have a look here. 3D artist available for work. Cool. Some nice looking pieces in here. So I would say definitely more focused on the prop aspect of it, right? Let's see, where do we start? Let's have a look. Hi everyone, in this work I mainly want to improve my ZBrush and texturing skills working with wood. Mega scans are used for the foliage, stones, decals, potatoes in the ground. Okay. Every prop has one texture map except the oil lamp, which has an extra for the glass. Okay. This render is nice. That's a really cool looking render, this one. I like that. Nice use of depth of field as well. The rendering is really good on these. Like a presentation of it. By the way, this work is tomorrow on critiques, so I don't know how deep we want to dive into the review. Oh, okay, so... Okay, you actually want to discuss this as well tomorrow. I mean, you've already posted it, right? So... we can kind of do a more in-depth review tomorrow. I'll just keep it a little bit more on the portfolio side. This is cool. Like a breakdown of everything. Mirrored UV, unique UV. That's interesting. Both the unique and the mirrored UV. The presentation is actually pretty good, you know? Like, in terms of like the information here. Like, just showing off like the nice wireframe, like all the texture maps, like the UV map. So just being really transparent with everything that you do. That's a really good move. The bottles. It's good as well. Yeah, this is very nice. Okay, so we're gonna keep that one for tomorrow then, for the most part. I like the presentation on that though. Like all the breakdown presentations that you did. Very, very good. See, 8 months ago. Too much Hunt Showdown. It's cool. Nice detail. Nice texture work as well. Yeah, this is looking nice. I'd say I'm not a fan of the lighting in the first one. You know, it feels like super harsh. I would have probably done something like a little bit softer, where you can almost imagine that it's set in that time period and it's more like lantern or candlelight coming in. Maybe that's what the whole setup was. You have like a window maybe here and then like a candlelight or something. But it just feels like really, really harsh and like a little bit pushed. Like it's pushed much towards like the contrasty side of things. Where yeah, you're even losing out on like all the nice detail that you put in here. Where you have like the burned etchings, you know? Like you're kind of losing out on all that detail. Kind of unfortunate. Small thing. Clean topology. Could be a little bit more atmospheric with a better render. Yeah. It's small things, right? Like all the rest of it is good. Like the way that you presented it with like all the different trinkets next to it. I think the money and the picture is more to do with the contrast as well. I don't mind, you know? Maybe it's a bit too distracting. Like I don't think that they necessarily look bad, but it might be a little bit too distracting. Because you still want the focus to be on like the gun itself, right? I don't know. Like I kind of like it. Add some bit of storytelling to it, you know? Maybe it would make more sense, let's see, to kind of have them on like the border of the frame a bit more. So that the main part is maybe like a little bit more of the cloth like underneath the gun or something like that. And then you have maybe some money coming from underneath the cloth. And then like you have the picture at the edge of the frame or something like that. I don't know. It's something to experiment with, you know? Because you basically wanna clear up the frame just a little bit to give more breathing space. Yeah, I mean, even just with the lighting changes, that's gonna help a lot as well. Mm. I love this try count. Try count is like 17k and then 7k without the chain. Because the chain is taking up so much of the try count. It has to, you know? Like it's that silhouette that you want to get. Even though it's so tiny. This is cool. I think this makes sense, right? So the first one we kind of watched, we had like all these nice breakdowns here, like all these lovely breakdowns where you show wireframe and like all the texture maps and all that stuff. I feel that should now be the template of this as well, where instead of doing this, just do it the way that you did it with your last piece, right? You showed a nice wireframe like you kind of do in here, but then also the texture maps and all that stuff too. George is actually saying you could do that with an alpha. You could. Yeah, it just depends on how close you're gonna get to it, you know? Because if you're kind of doing this as like an FPS, then you probably want more geo on that anyway. So yeah, it's good to keep it that way. You were a bit lazy with the texture map, so you didn't want to show it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, that was my assumption as well, because I know that you were so transparent on the first one that must have been the case on this one. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't really matter that much. In that case, I would just get rid of the bottom one. Like the reference stuff, I don't care. You know, like just a bunch of reference for like a chainsaw. I don't know. You know, it's not showing anything unique. It's not adding anything. Oh, Bag, in the meantime, you don't have to retract your messages. Like, I'll get to them. So, to answer your second question, I'm more of a realistic artist myself. So, the last thing I worked on professionally was Far Cry 6. Just to give you an indication. What do you think about the second picture? I think the front part is maybe too dirty, maybe too noisy. Yeah, it's illogical where all the dirt is accumulated, right? Like, it's there's I think that's the thing that's missing. There's no logic to the dirt. Like you would expect, like if you're cutting, like there's probably gonna be like a lot of dirt here, right? Like this part is gonna be really dirty because the chain is gonna like fling in like all bunch of stuff into this part, so that part is gonna be really dirty. This part, let's see, this part less so. You know, let's think about it in a logical way. So this section is definitely gonna be less dirty. Maybe you could have like a dirtier section here because water is accumulating, right? Same here, water accumulation for sure. But then, yeah, this could be less dirty again. So I would, yeah, probably dial it down. Like the way that I think about dirt is you want to create like interesting spots of detail and then enough areas to rest your eye as well. You want to have that balance because else like the whole thing just becomes like, oh, it's just dirt everywhere and you can't even it's hard to make out the different shapes, right? Kind of like you're doing here, right? Like all the dirt is kind of centered here, but the rest of it is relatively clean. Hey, Raj! Yeah, I know, I'm not wearing my shirt. I was looking for it, but then I was kind of running late as well, so... Damn it! Let's see. Posted last year. I mean, they kind of follow like the same sort of, I want to say template, you know, because it makes it almost sounds like you're lazy and you're just doing the same thing over and over. It's not that, but I can see that you learn so much more in the last two pieces compared to these ones. I feel like you can really tell the progression that you're making in these last pieces. Because everything becomes a little bit more logical, right? Like the stuff that we just talked about. Like all the damage is a bit more logical in displacement. Like I don't even know what's happening here on this main panel. It's just, yeah. It's a bit all over the place, right? And you're gonna see that naturally. You know, you're gonna see progression in a portfolio regardless. So this is not necessarily a bad thing. And I see that in and I see that in your latest pieces, you're really putting like a lot of thought and effort into it. So I wouldn't necessarily go back to all of this, right, and try to clean it up. But yeah, just take all the learnings that you learned in the last couple of months and just fuse them into your next piece. Watching a lot of streams. Nice. Can you, like, what kind of streams do you watch then? Because it's been a while since I've been on Twitch, so I don't know if there's like good 3D creators out there. Always interested in checking them out though. So yeah, I think even from the thumbnails, you know, like you can see that you've learned a lot. So I would even do the same thing as we kind of discussed with Andrew in like the previous portfolio review, where maybe it's time to think about like which ones are going into the old folder. And I think just judging from the thumbnails, right? I would say you know what? I'm gonna do a slight adjustment here. So currently I'm thinking which ones are going in the old folder, and these three, well, let me say these two definitely, because the background is a little bit boring, like the presentation is a bit lacking, right? Whereas in this one, you can tell that you've gone the extra mile, just watching the thumbnail, right? So maybe this one, maybe, I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna let you do your own judgment on this, but just based on the thumbnails, like this might be it, you know? So you got 5 pieces and then 3 pieces that are probably gonna go into your old folder at this point. I think that's a good deal. And again, that's my judgment, you know? If you disagree or you think like, oh, I could maybe take, I don't know, take this one, do like a little bit of a cleaner presentation, clean up the texture a little bit, you can add that to your portfolio too. But you are definitely on a good track. I love this piece, just the way that it's presented and the way you handle the sculpt. if we're going back to this, just as like a quick thing, I know that we're talking about it tomorrow. Make the whole thing a little bit more organic. And you can still do this as like a quick tweak, right? Instead of having these like super straight planks. I mean, you're already kind of doing it with like just the offsetting the individual geometry. You can actually just make like part of a plank just like a little bit taller, you know? Just to make it a little bit more organic. And then, what is that, iron? Just make it a little bit crooked, you know? Just a little bit. And usually when we say crooked, it's mostly focused on the silhouette, right? Because that's the thing that will strike us most. Is that, yeah, just doing little touches to the silhouette is going to make a huge difference. Or even the geometry, right? Like making this stick or like this handle like a little bit thicker than the other one, just to create that imbalance and asymmetry. Maybe this one is going to be slightly shorter as well. And it's small stuff like that can do like a lot of wonders. And like you're doing it already, you know? Like in a lot of places where the silhouette is like really nice. Because you got like nice individuality out of it. Especially here, like adding all that variation in here. It's doing a good job. Yeah, nice one. Okay. I honestly think that there's like a lot of quick wins with lighting. It seems like, I mean, yeah, I know it's not like we're trying to be lighting artists, right? But especially comparing this first one that you did, which just really nails like the presentation and like the lighting of it. Like the depth of field and the camera work is really nice. This one is gorgeous. I think honestly this is my favorite shot out of all of it. This one's nice too. Yeah, I'm just excited for the next one, honestly. Let's keep it at that, you know? Because there's so much that I love that I see in here that I'm just curious of what you're gonna do next. And yeah, there's a lot of quick wins that you can do with possibly lighting up the other ones slightly differently, and definitely cutting up, or like removing some of the older work from your portfolio to really make that big splash as people land on your portfolio. You got it. It's gonna be good. Let's see, Watch Dynasty, Sergei Panin, and Evgeny Figuera? I don't know the last one. Yeah, Sergei Panin, I know. It's interesting. I've been itching to get back into it as well. And I should honestly like watch Dynasty a bit more. So good. Thanks for the feedback. No worries. Happy to help. Bedirhan, thanks for asking that question. I'll send the link in the chat again. So if you wanna sign up for a portfolio review yourself, then you can click this link and sign up if you wanted to. So the way that I approach this is community members get like a front row seat, so they will always get like first to this portfolio reviews. But then if there's like an open slot, like usually I'll try to do like 3 in a row. So if there's an open shot, then you get on there as well as with the next one. So one of the people that was here last time and has signed up for a portfolio review, Dagmawi, thanks so much for signing up. Appreciate that. Just grab a sip to drink and then we'll dive into it. No, thank you, man. Oh, don't thank me yet. I thought you were afraid of the guillotine. What happened? All right. Let's do it. Let's have a look here. First of all, I like the banner. Like it. Very colorful, you know? Oh, you're honored to get reviews whenever I can? It's scary, but it has to come to it at some point. Yeah. I mean, it's always interesting to hear other people's opinion about your work, you know? Even though, I gotta be honest, I'm really bad at that myself, you know? Abdallah has come in with an interesting question. Is it bad to have a long time between your pieces? Okay, so before we dive into this portfolio, Dagmawi, let's discuss that a little. So, when it comes to the time between projects, it's usually not an indication of anything bad, you know? Even though there was a time where, even when I was doing portfolio reviews or was in recruitment myself, I would pay like a lot of attention to it. I think it honestly only gets interesting when you're talking about like multiple years. Like, let's say you just pushed like a really great piece, and then your last piece after that is like 4 years ago, something like that, right? Maybe there's something to it, but honestly, most when I asked about it in like recruitment chats, like most of those comments come down to personal reasons. I mean, some people are trying to get into the industry and they need some way to get the bills, to pay the bills, right? So I just kind of stopped focusing on it. So I don't think it's like bad to have a long time between your pieces. Honestly, what always is the most important thing is that the pieces are just good. You know? Like, I know that I kind of go into like a piece and then I'm like looking at like this, right? Like posted last year. But honestly, like in terms of like the importance to me, it's more like a curiosity thing. Because then I can like chronologically put your stuff in order, but it's not a bad thing. The long answer short, no. Just make it look good. Also, this is coming from like a person, I'm talking about myself, like who's been working on like his latest piece for like 2 years, so I mean, I gotta have some way to get out of that conversation, right? Alright, Dagmawi, let's have a look. Colorful banner, I like it. I'm just curious at this point. Like, is that where... Oh, okay. Where it comes from. I love this kind of stuff in design. I gotta be honest. Like, I've done like a whole bunch of like random designery things, you know, where you just figure out a nice shape, smash like a nice gradient map on it, and it's like, oh, that's good, you know? Just like pleasing. Like, you're not gonna use it for everything, but stuff is awesome. Oh, did you sneak that in there? I love that you did this. Was this an official thing? All right. Nah, man. That's cool. I used to be a graphic designer and saw a post by Daniel Tiger and inspired me. Didn't really fit into the portfolio, but I had to show it for his credit. Yeah. I mean, it's not bad to show off that you have different things, right? It's kind of cool. Like, I love to see like variation in it, even though like again, this comes back to the points that we were making with the other portfolios as well, right? You have to be really thoughtful of how you present your landing page, but it could be freaking awesome to have it as like other work or something, right? So using it in that way gives you like a nice bit of exposure to like, hey, look, I'm an environment artist, you know, like that's what I want to do. But I also do all of this stuff. And I like to experiment with like a bunch of stuff there. That's cool. It's not official, just had to give purpose to the design. Yeah. These little experiments are cool. All right, so let's have a look. Junior art director, 3D environment, and texture artist. Okay. That is a lot. So, hold up. Let's dive into about first. From my advertisement, okay. When you say art director, like how did you get that title? Or is it more like a self-assigned title? Like I asked this question as in like in reference to what you want to become, right? Or what your current goal is for hold up. Are you in the industry? Just check. Environment artist, okay. Yeah. You're working as a junior art director after 2 years of working in advertising. Oh, okay. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, let's have a look. It's just yeah, it's just unusually quick, you know? It's interesting nonetheless though. I am working for the title. It's a long-term plan to be an art/creative director. Yeah, that's awesome. Especially with that design background, you can come at it from like a unique angle. So that's cool. Okay, let's have a look here. Is there anything? Okay. So what is your what does your path look like becoming? Okay. Never mind. I think you're gonna answer my question anyway. So it's a small team, and I was given the opportunity to do lots of work, and they kind of promoted me. Most of my work is texture related. Oh, okay, okay, I see. So not a lot of props, just materials and chat. Okay, fair enough. That was kind of what I was gonna ask anyway. Um, that's cool. So most of it is gonna be texture work then. Ethiopian military bunker info. Wait, is that? Oh, okay, that's this one. Okay, let's have a look at that one then. For the last few months, I've been studying Unreal Engine. Started out creating material effects. Created the environment and small props, textures inside of the designer and painter. Everything together in Unreal Engine. Graphics are cool. Little graphics on the screens. Interesting. Like what I would say here is that it's hard to really know what kind of an environment like what kind of an environment you're trying to make here, right? Because you say it's like a military bunker, but you're not really selling that idea at this point, where it is just more of like a single corridor, you know? So this feels more like you're just making like a presentation for your texture instead of like making an environment that has your textures in it, if that makes sense. So I would, if you're thinking about like an Ethiopian sci-fi military bunker, right? There's a lot of elements there that you can do something really interesting with, but I would try to make it into like a proper environment that then has your environment, your materials into it. Because this display could be something. This display is like the hero asset of this scene that I'm currently thinking of, right? But it would almost be like if we're looking at it top down. Like this would be the area of the screen, and the screen probably has like a panel in front of it. Right? Because you want to do some interaction with it. Maybe this is... So it's a military bunker. So what else would there be? Like, is this like a control room? Maybe there's different desk setups with like other people working in it. And it's like a government military bunker, you know? I'm just naming like a random story that I'm coming up with. You can make that your own story and just completely disregard what I'm doing here. But it's more about like setting it up as an actual space, right? And then what would you have? Like, I don't know, there's like a staircase, like maybe going up or down, you know, to elevate this place in its importance. Maybe there's like another elevation here or something like that. And then where do you enter the space? Maybe there's like a door here. You know, and just trying to build it up in like a logical way. Rather, like now at this point, like you could almost see like the screen being like fully integrated into the environment rather than it just being like a material presentation room. So that would be something to look into. Like if I were to say something about this piece. Because there is a lot of cool stuff in here, you know? Like in the keywords that we're playing around with. It can really be something really unique. And then you know what you're doing with the graphics anyway. So that stuff is amazing. You can just yeah, I would honestly lean into it. You know? Like you have the one screen, but maybe you could have like a panel of screens, or like, yeah, like I'm still playing around with like the control room idea, right? Like multiple screens, maybe every desk has like a separate screen. Something like that. And also think about the consistency of it all. What I mean by consistency is that you have like these very dark gray metallic surfaces that seem like manufactured and like created in like a very manufactured way, whereas this one seems to be like a base of manufacturing, but then people kind of added stuff on top of it to kind of make it work, you know? Like it's very self-made stuff, and like the two kind of clash against each other, I feel. So I would think about that consistency of if you're like, you kind of almost need to dip, like not dip, but like go for one or the other in this case. Because it would look freaking awesome if you have like this sort of manufacturing style, but then with like the loose cabling. So it's more like an Ethiopian military bunker that's falling into disrepair or something, right? Just thinking about like the consistency of it. So, consistency is key. Bedirhan, may I ask a quick question? Yeah, go ahead. So that's it for this one. The stuff that you created here is cool. It's just like the logic of it, right? The logic needs a bit more work. I would honestly, like looking at this, like lean into the screen and how the screen was built together, like in a very quick and ramshackle way, you know? There's something really cool to that. I would lean into that a bit more. And then these are the materials, right? There's what is it called? It's a really interesting node in Substance Designer called, I think it's called PBR render. It's been a while since I looked into it. And that basically takes your material as an input and renders it on a sphere or whatever shape you want it to be. And it makes it look awesome because it has like a bunch of stuff already built into it. So like the HDRI is already built into it, like the environment stuff is already built into it. So that will be worth looking into. I don't know if this uses it. I'm not sure. Yeah. I guess on these flat ones, it's more about the lighting. This one is actually pretty interesting, like this one. In terms of lighting. Like I feel like in this one, like a lot of the interesting parts are just in shadow. So I would think about like how you would light these a little bit. Okay, so that's that environment. Let's have a look at some of the other stuff. I'm curious now. This is awesome. This is cool. I love all the fabrics in here. This is nice. Boo boo. Oh, the little tongue up front as well. That's awesome. It's like a nice little Substance Designer challenge. That's awesome. These materials look really good, and the lighting shows them off like perfectly as well. Nice kind of diffuse or like studio lighting, you know? It's a bot! Raj, it's a bot! Damage here is quite nice. just like where it's highlighted by the light. It's I would think about like the stuff that we said before in the other portfolios as well, where you add like rim lights to it to just make it stand out more from the background, right? Like this shot is a perfect example. You have a rim light like highlighting the silhouette here. That would look so good. So good. How awesome would that be if these light up? You have like the old school like emissive like into it, like the old car lamps. Came out nice though. Gotta watch out with those generators though. Oh, what is that? Freaking gross. You nailed that. That is gross. Raj, you're the bot expert. What do you think? Hold on, let me send it to you as well. Oh boy. Burning Man. Yeah, true. This is cool though. I like the paint on it and like the you definitely feel the crafted nature of it. Like a lot of nice attention to detail. Substance challenge, yes. So if we're talking about the texturing, like my one point that I want to make. Well, no, I'll make two. I'll try to restrict myself to two. You know what? No, I'll keep it to one. And it's a detail. So on these sections where they painted like over like his body, right? Like the only thing that I want to point out is that you probably wouldn't expect paint to be like all the way into the crevices. And it could give like a nice addition to like all the paneling detail that you've done. Same for the little rivets here, right? And also, yeah, try to vary the rotation of the details, right? Like you would like slightly rotate like each one differently so that it looks like they're not all the same thing. Okay, Raj's coming in with some critique as well. So less generators, more unique storytelling elements. That's a good point. Use fill layers and some custom grunges. Some leaks and whatnot. Because it has painted bits. Yes. Coming in with the juicy tips. Good shit. Yeah, I think the generators, you know, like that's like a thing to stay away from as much as possible. Like you need to do something to the mask, especially I would say especially the foot area. That's where it like really hits you that it's just a generator, or like most of it. Yeah, some good points. Let's see. So Roger's saying the roughness is also kind of funky. It needs some more shiny bits, and right now it looks like it's entirely dirty. Yeah, I think that was my second point that I kind of held off on, is with the whole painted bit. Like, there's a really nice opportunity for you to make that kind of shiny. Right? Like, it's like nicely painted, and then maybe people just like wiped off like the sand layer just a little bit to get the paint on, you know? And you could kind of do two things at the same time. You could add roughness variation with a little bit of a fresher look to the paint, but then also do a bit of storytelling where you could like indicate where people like try to quickly clean them off to get the paint to stick better. Maybe work. Oh, sorry, Bettyhon. I'm trying to focus on this for a little bit, but no, I'll answer it. No worries. So when I play project in Unreal, my mesh sizing feels wrong. I'm using scale reference real world dimensions. What do you think this is? For example, door sizes feel completely off. That's pretty normal. Like in games, we make our doors like feel like way bigger than they actually are. Like I think, what was a ridiculous example? I think in Gears of War, the doors are like 4 meter tall and like 3 meters wide or something ridiculous. So if it feels weird, then it just comes down to taking like a little bit of creative liberty and like scaling them up a little bit. Because if the, well, apart from your mesh, like your character mesh being too tall, that's the only thing that I can think of. Like if everything is made to like real world dimensions, that's yeah, you have to take some creative liberties with that. All right, let's pick this one. We're gonna stop there. So from 2 years ago, 2020, the Rookie Awards. Nice. Yeah, this is cool. Nice little environment. I like these mechs. Like little quirky, fun mechs, you know? I like that. I think you've grown a lot in like material and like the presentation of it. Because I'm sure that if you were to redo this now, like the materials would look so good. Cool though. I like the shapes of these flying things as well. Yeah, that's cool. That was a quick one. So, oh, I had a look at this one before. And I actually liked what I saw in here. The only thing, like the main thing that I want to see here is how you would use it in like an actual real life use case, you know? Like I want to see you throw this in Unreal, make like a really basic block out of a hut, and maybe throw some mega scans on the floor, something like that, you know? Just to present it in like a use case. I think that can be really valuable. Just showing it off, right? Because you got all these unique patterns that you made and like all these nice little bits. And you're showing them off in Substance, but I kind of want to see more. I want to see how you use it in like the engine. And that applies for so many materials, you know? Because like a lot of materials, they kind of work when you just present them on like a cylinder or a sphere, but as soon as you bring them into the world, like you need to work on the tiling or whatever, you know? So, I want to see that. Give me that game art. Yeah. Patterns in the way that you approach it looks good though. Again, maybe the PBR render thing is like a thing to check out. Maybe use that on this. I can't even tell. Like I don't use it that much myself. Always in Unreal. Yeah, cool. So I feel like I'm repeating myself with these portfolio reviews. Like the lighting is like a quick win again. And I think in this one, like if you want to do like an environment, really think about it as an environment rather than a showcase for your materials. Right? Because I think if I'm gonna be like quite honest, you're not gaining that much making this separate post of an environment compared to what we're seeing here already. You know, because it doesn't really feel like an actual environment that is what you would expect from, like, if you tell me like, oh, sci-fi military bunker, like I'm expecting a room with like a bunch of stories to it, right? Not just a wall that's just a display for your materials. I know that I keep hammering on this, like it's not as bad as I make it sound to be, but yeah, I would honestly probably get rid of this one, you know. Probably get rid of this one because it is already here anyway. Hacking my ego by making more squares. Okay, so I like that you're being honest about it. But as I mentioned before, maybe not now actually. Might be the first portfolio review that I've done. Like it's, oh no, I mentioned it before. It's not about quantity. Do it again. It's not about the quantity. It's actually about the quality of the art, right? So like all these squares, like they don't matter if they're not good. A portfolio is what was it saying? Like a portfolio is only as good as its weakest part. So that's why we're talking about like constantly like, oh, this is old, move that into a different folder, that if people actually click on it, they know that they're looking at old work in this case. Raj, what are you doing? Stop crashing the stream. It is about quality. So I'd rather have less what is it? Less portfolio pieces, but better quality than the opposite side, right? Yeah. So, and I think it's not easy, right? Like it's definitely not easy because like you're saying, it has to do with the ego, right? And it has to do with you working all the way up to this point and like building all those skills and like finally getting to a point where you're starting to get comfortable and making stuff that you really like, and then you have to cut stuff out of it. It's yeah, it's not a great feeling, but it's worthwhile. Because in the end, like if let's say we're in a scenario where I'm looking at your portfolio and I'm trying to recruit you for my company, if you have stuff that is on the landing page of your portfolio and it's not good, then I'm starting to question like why you put it there, right? Like, do you think it's still good enough to be on there? I'm just naming this as like an example, right? I'm not talking about your portfolio specifically. Like I might even be talking about my own portfolio, right? There's like a whole bunch of stuff that I like unpublished because it's no longer relevant to my current skill set. You can do that in like a way where you unpublish it, or you can do that in a way where you just move that to a different folder and call it like old work or something like that, right? So the way that you do it and like the choices that you make to get there are still yours. It's just you need to be aware of. I think the most important thing to be aware of is just people's time and how quick someone will look at your portfolio and then decide that you're not going to get the job. That stuff is brutal, but it is quick, right? And that's what a portfolio should be about. It's just bringing the best of yourself forward, so that people are like, "Damn, this is good. Let's reach out to him, you know? Him or her." No worries. I mean, I've had to learn that stuff myself as well, right? And it's painful, especially when someone else says it to you. I think. Oh God. Oh, that's actually a good point, Raj. Like my lecturer keeps saying, you need to catch them in the first 10 seconds, otherwise you ain't got a chance. Yeah, I think honestly it's even quicker than 10 seconds. That's also why I usually keep hammering on like thumbnails too, right? Like the thumbnail is like, that's what makes them click. And then the portfolio work is actually what makes them stay. Hopefully, that's how it goes, right? Yeah, it's quick. Like, if we were looking at portfolios, it will be super quick. Like just scanning through people, right? And it's brutal. But yeah, you gotta capture them in like the first 3 seconds almost. And you can do that in so many ways, right? And usually it's also like a bit easier if you're looking for like a very specific for a very specific person. Let's say you're hiring like an environment artist for a project, you know what you're looking for just by the requirements that you need for the game that you're working on. So it's a bit easier. It's not as a general portfolio review. So that makes it super quick. That's why I'm saying like 3 seconds, because I would, thinking back, I would probably spend like on some portfolios even less, Just click, open, nope, gone. Can be super quick like that. If your initial reaction isn't, oh shit, then your chances get lowered. Yeah. Yeah. That is true. And also, like, you gotta imagine that recruiters are currently, they've always been, like, inundated with, like, ArtStation stuff, right? So, being exposed to that day in, day out, like, they're gonna see, like, a lot of high-quality stuff. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's what they're looking for, but I think it's gonna build up, like, I don't want to say bias either, but it's gonna be subconscious, that they see like a bunch of interesting stuff on ArtStation all the time, and they kind of build up like a mental library. Anyway, that wasn't all about you, Dagmawi. That was just more like a general rant, because your stuff is actually looking really nice. I love the texturing work that you do, especially this one. I don't know, there's something about that, the presentation of it, like the materials that you've done, looks really nice. So good stuff. Thank you for sharing your portfolio link as well. Appreciate that. And you're the first random portfolio review that we've done, like non-community portfolio review, let's call it that. So I appreciate you sharing your portfolio and like putting yourself out there like this. Appreciate it. All right, let's switch this over. Should we switch to? This one? Okay. Let's do it. Thank you so much for your time. No worries, Dagmawi. Thank you so much for bringing it up again. Appreciate it. And it was a pleasure looking at it. Let's close it all down. All right, so we've done almost 2 hours again of portfolio reviews. Are there any more questions in the chat? Feel free to. It doesn't have to be about portfolio reviews. Like, I'm just spending like a little bit of time before I hit on off. Give me a 30-second portfolio review. No, done that already. I mean, no, it was a minute, right? Minute portfolio review. I really hope I can join the community. Payments are a bit hard where I live. Is that through Patreon? Because you can also get access if you join like via YouTube. I don't know if that makes any difference in terms of payments. I've got no idea. What are your plans for Beyond Extend as a full-time business? So, oh god. We're gonna expand on what we already have, right? So I'm working with a couple of other people in the team that we're gonna expand on the workshops that we've been having. So we currently have one planned for in 2 weeks, and then we have another one in the beginning of December, hopefully, if we can get the time sort out. So I'm hoping I've been kind of taking that on. But I'm gonna shift that to someone else, and they're gonna take over the workshops for me. And that opens a little bit more time where I wanna get back into streaming, potentially. But as for big stuff, I'm actually working on a course. I'm kinda, what I say, like 30% through. And it's basically trying to distill like how to make your own environment, from like planning an environment and like actually building up solid foundations when it comes to storytelling and all that kind of stuff, all the way to the finished result. But it's been a big undertaking. It's also like the first proper course or like long tutorial that I've done. So I've done a couple of iterations already. I've recorded like a bunch of stuff already, but I feel like it needs more time in the cooker. So that's probably going to be the big thing that we're going to be doing. Other plans for Beyond Extend. Like, look, we have plans, but I don't want to share them. Because plans are easy, you know, like ideas are easy. It's actually the execution of it that makes them hard. So keep it a little bit close to my chest for now. There's other small stuff that we're planning. Like, we're actually planning, well, we're trying to plan like a meetup next year, around like some sort of gaming event, you know, so that the community can get together and we go to a gaming event together and meet like a whole bunch of devs, hopefully. So we've been kind of doing something there as well. We've also been looking way more into the team challenges and thinking about ways where, or like how we can expand on those. Maybe even some cross community stuff that I want to reach out to some of the other communities. We have some plans for that, but can't reveal too much yet. Yeah, honestly, like in terms of plans, yeah, probably it. Not gonna reveal too much. That's the thing, you know, like I'm new to this as well. Like I want to say that as like a big caveat. Like I'm new to like running my own business. I mean, I've been doing Beyond Extend for a couple of years now, but not full time. So now I have all this time where I can like delegate between like a bunch of things. And apart from all the things that I mentioned, I'm still heavily involved in the community itself, right? So running that, running the website, thinking about like ways to expand the website into the future, expanding the community. So we have like a bunch of small stuff coming up, but I feel like the biggest thing is definitely going to be the course for now. I'm really good at ranting about that stuff, you know. Dagmawi, any payments? I live in Ethiopia and we don't have a lot of flexibility to online transactions. Okay. Okay. How do I do this? Can I? No, I can't message you, right? Is that a thing that you can do in YouTube? Never mind. I was thinking we can figure something out. I'll check into it after the stream. Three Licks, are you still living in Berlin, by the way? Yes, I am. Still living in Berlin. Living it up. Yeah, it's okay. You know, we have like a good apartment here. Rent is still affordable, so can't complain. Cannot complain at all. And also, we have no idea where else to move, you know? That's another thing. I don't know, like, it's not... This is called a first world problem, you know? Like, now that I don't have, like, a job that I need to be in the office for, like, I'm free to go wherever I want, you know? But then it becomes a question of, like, okay, where do we go? I don't know. This reminds me of the old AMA Sundays that we used to do. Oh my god, it's been a while. Alright, any more questions in the chat? Bring back AMA Sunday. They were kind of nice, you know? Just chilling, talking about game art, making stuff. Don't know why. I think I stopped doing them because I was trying to do... What was it again? So in the beginning they went well. And it didn't? Oh my god, I can't remember. Reboot podcast. Raj, stop. Stop pushing all these dead ideas on me. Podcast would be good. AMA Sundays would be good. They just do everything, you know? +1 for the podcast. Oh, Raj, what have you done to me? It's actually the Art Dragon's fault, you know, that we stopped doing them. If you're a dedicated podcast follower, you know exactly who that is. Make vlogs. What, about me just sitting at my desk the entire day and just working on my medieval scene? Might as well just stream then. A day in the life of a sedentary, like, game developer. Not even game developer, environment artist. Daily vlogs. I think you're really overestimating, like, the content that's gonna come out of them. Oh, copy and pasting the same one? Oh, I can do that. Yeah. Oh, you know what I could do? So many things that I could do, right? Like, maybe we could cut up the podcast in, like, different podcasts, you know? Just cut them up into sections that kind of make sense and then just mash them together. Make and generate, like, a new podcast episode, like, every week. Fuck yeah. No. I mean, podcast episodes, right? Not making multiple podcasts. I mean, we could barely do one. How are we gonna do multiples? Oh my god. Doing multiple podcasts at the same time? Hell no. Yes, make multiple ones. Really, Lakes? No. I'm not doing that. We should... Okay, if we're gonna do that, we should just have, like, people randomly record, like, a podcast episode and be able to send it in, you know? Just anyone can record a podcast episode. Raj, you want to do one? Pretty Lakes, do you want to do one as well? Come on, let's get this thing off the ground then. Sure. Let's talk. No, it's just gonna be a monologue, right? I'm not gonna be there. Maybe I'll do like what is an effective burrito for a 3D artist? Day in the life of a Raj. What is an effective burrito? What does that even mean? What, like the burrito that gives you the most... the most, like the best stats for 3D art creation? %95 burrito talk, 5% 3D related. Okay, on the topic of burritos, it's 10. I'm gonna peace out. So, just a shout out to everyone who shared their portfolio today. This was freaking awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your portfolio. And again, I'll post a link in the chat if you wanna share your own portfolio for the next upcoming sessions. And if you're not a community member, you can use that link. Or if you're a community member, you can just go to our Discord and just post it in what's the channel? Portfolio reviews. Oh, I named it logically. So yeah. See you in the next episode, and feel free to share your portfolio. Thanks so much for being here. Bye-bye.